Question over here. What is the typical loan to value on a development loan for a residential project or for a retail project? And I'm not talking about to the end buyer, but to the developer.
That's an interesting thing because there's many different policies that the government put forward. That first of all you have to buy the land basically with all your money before you can build anything or you can get a permit to build. But in the end of the day, though, there's many other things that's involved. For instance, pre-sale. If you get they call it plus minus zero, meaning if you dig a hole and then build a basement, and you can start to pre-sell the houses, and that's give you about 30% payment coming back already. And if you add all these little things here and there, in the end of the day, for typical developers, they can really leverage this up to maybe 6 or 7 times, but most of them don't. Those of them on surface, you probably look at it, their developers is probably somewhere around 3, maybe 2 times levered. They actually have lots of money.
Given the development of an investor class or a wealthier group within China, and given the size of China, that becomes a big number. Do you believe that China will at some point loosen up their rules and allow those investors to become part of the international capital markets?
China has actually the last couple of years they have played this theme because of one is because of a lot of hot money going to China. And so there's the pressure on the currency. So they say, well, if we allow the domestic money coming out, then maybe we could balance that pressure. But in the end of the day, I think they will not let the capital markets free because, on the other hand, if you look at all the world market, if I remember correctly, almost every single one of them, especially in the emerging countries, said if you have free capital markets, you eventually end up disasters. They got hit here and there. So capital control, in many ways, is actually a good thing. So I don't think they will, foreseeable future officially allow the free flow of the capital from domestic to the foreign country. That is not to say that money hasn't been flowing, though. I mean, the recent transaction in New York City, for instance, is the highest flat is sold to a Chinese investor. So the money has been flowing, and I think right now what they're trying to promote is for the state champions or for the large SOEs to take that money and invest it abroad instead of individuals.
So would you say that if the markets were completely open, the average Chinese investor would invest abroad over China?
Well, at least for one thing, I mean the reporting or at least the record here are cleaner or at least more trustworthy. So for them, I think right now they only have one choice. They only have they can only invest in domestic A shares. Some of the people there are many ways, of course, for them to invest in A shares, but still it's not the mainstream.
Yes, sir.
Credit creation last year was 9 trillion yuan. This year it's targeted at 7 trillion yuan. And those numbers roundly would add up to 30 to 40% of GDP, which is a remarkably high number. How comfortable are you with this level of credit creation? How sustainable are those kinds of levels? And what is your expectation for the credit quality of these loans?
You're right. I mean, I think the credit creation over the last 2 years has been pretty large. But on the other hand, if you look at the loan books that banks hold, they are nowhere near what we are here. I mean, the U.S. consumers probably has a big chunk of what's the credit, but in China, the consumer credit are actually pretty small. I mean, to get a credit card in China is very, very difficult. Even for me, I think I have to report my 10 years income and all the other things I don't want to tell the government to get a credit card. But that's what the credit cards in China directly link to your monthly pay. I mean, to your pay stubs. So from that point of view, the quality is probably better than you think because on the other hand, most of the credit creation was given to either government or government-sponsored enterprise. And as I said, the government receipt now is about 26-27% of the GDP. And even they embarked a big stimulus package of 600 billion. The deficit is very small. The government deficit for that year is 3-4%. So from that point of view, I think the payments largely still balanced. And if the economy can still grow at, let's say, 7 to 10%, I don't think that will become an issue. Although every investor look at it, I think my point is that the watch the water never boil. I mean, if everybody's look at it, I think the issue will not be that bad.
Yeah, we have time probably for one more question back there.
Yeah, I wonder if you could comment on the tail risk, and what I mean by that is I think on a fundamental basis, I agree with everything you're saying, and I think it's a fantastic growth story in China. But I have a concern about how much of that growth is tied to fundamental economic imbalances in the trade account and the capital account, and how similar circumstances for Japan did not end very well a decade ago, and how the current system in place in China is going to be able to sort of adapt to that and manage that in a way where they don't end up with the same outcome because they did it smarter.
That is, of course, the same question that the Chinese did ask themselves. China is not a socialism; it's a government capitalism, right? So that actually has some advantages because it's much easier to implement certain policies without too much debate. China is, I always call China is an elite society. There's a few people that leads everybody else, and it has pros and cons. At this stage of the economy, I think that kind of hierarchy, that kind of elite structure is actually working. We may not like it. I mean, but it's actually working. So to me, this tail risk, it probably will. It's at least there's a percentage of chance that may happen, but first of all, not in the next 2-3 years. Second of all, I think this chance is still small. I'm not trying to pump up China. Actually, I know why they get where they are now today. I mean, they sacrifice many things. For instance, one of the key things I always tell people is that in this country, the biggest problem for us is not Social Security, it's actually healthcare. The healthcare is about 7 times GDP cost in terms of liability, right? That's why we cannot move. But in China, the society has many ways to deal with that. I mean, they send out some poisoned milk and then get some polluted air, then people's lifespan cut by 6-7 years. And that is a huge advantage because the people who live can produce, right? The people, otherwise they can't. So from my point of view, although it's dark, but still, if you look at it from macro point of view, that's where the country moves very fast. I mean, there's no Social Security, there's some Social Security, there's no health care. So for that, they are trouble-free. If we can achieve that.
One final quick question and quick answer.
I'm concerned about the pushback. At some point on a global basis, takeovers of companies like Potash, which represent a strategic asset, that the United States would actually benefit less if China enters the fray and wins Potash. We gave every opening to China to be able to do deals with Petrobras and other Australian companies by restricting them from having acquisitions which we considered or deemed at least politically, if not economically, sensitive. Do you see any of that taking place, and where will the line be drawn when it's drawn?
That's a difficult question because obviously we blocked their Unocal acquisition a long time ago. I think in terms of potash, I think Canadian government also come to the same conclusion today. They figure that if it's by the BHP is more beneficial for the country. Where do you draw the line? That's a difficult one because the relationship between China and the U.S. Financially is a symbiotic relationship. Both countries, if you look at the trade economy, both countries controls over 52% of the trade economy. So we cannot live without the other. But in terms politically, it's a tagless economy. I mean, it's a tagless entities. We always want to, restrain the other's development. So where to draw a line? That's, I guess, is a big question. But fortunately, it's not the question for me.
And if you want to know about China, Eric Lang, UBS. If you want to know about the world, World Policy Journal. I'm David Andelman. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.